Welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcasts. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our video podcast. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'll be interviewing Jamai. That's a one-word artist. He's a singer, producer, entrepreneur. He's been on The Voice, on Alicia Keys' team. He's doing a docuseries. He's released an album called 23. We're going to be talking about all of that. His life, him growing up, and his work. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. Like I said at the top, I'm here with an artist, a singer, producer, director, entrepreneur, Jamai. Thank you for coming on the show and telling us your story. I'm excited to have this conversation with you.
Hey man, thank you for having me. Thank you for having me. Thank you for just letting me be a part of such an amazing platform. I've been a fan. I'm recently a new fan of the show.
Okay.
And I love all the topics y'all dig into, especially in a time like this. So I'm just honored to be a part of the conversation, man. Thank you.
Well, I'm honored to have you here. And as I say with all of my guests, to give the audience just a little bit of an understanding, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about your early life?
Well, I was born and raised in Chester, PA, which is like right outside of Philly. Always been into music, always loved music. And when I was very young, about 6 years old, my mom was murdered. My dad was in jail. He had been in jail since before I was born. And I just was raised by like a community, a village of grandparents and aunts and uncles and cousins that just always kind of held me down. And I fell in love with music at a very young age, and I honestly been pursuing it since I was about 14. So here I am, man, 20 years later.
So that was a quick synopsis of everything that we're going to be talking about during this conversation. But let's take the audience on a roller coaster. All right. This conversation is going to be dark. It's going to be light. It's going to be pain. It's going to be hopeful. Let's start you at 6 years old. You brought up that your mother was murdered. I know that this is a big part of a lot of the work that you're doing right now. I know it's painful, but if we could go back to that time and tell us a little bit about how this situation shaped you for the rest of your life.
Well, I think the biggest thing is if anybody knows anything about grief, one of the interesting things is it takes on different phases. I think when I was young and my mom was murdered, I wasn't really able to process it all. I wasn't able to really put it all and accept it for what it was. I knew she was in heaven. I knew she wasn't around. I knew everything, but I wasn't able to really understand and process it. So I think for the most part, uh, I didn't. I had sad moments, but it didn't really affect me. I think until I became an adult. I talk about a story how I remember my mom. She would come to my school and she would help my teacher teach and help out with the students. And then I remember a time where she wasn't able to do that. So
Mhm.
like in my own little adolescent 6-year-old way, it was translated, but I didn't understand the severity until adulthood of like how permanent and how tragic it was. So but I think maybe around 12, 13 is when I really fell in love with music. I mean, or I really started to pursue music. And I think that has kind of saved my life in so many ways. Like early on, I was singing with church choirs, I was singing with community choirs. I was writing songs and I started performing around like 15. So that kind of always kept me grounded. It was always something that I was fully invested in. So, you know.
So the love for music, is there any connection, because your mother passed away very, very young in your life? Is there any connection between your love of music and your mother? Was your mother a musical person? Do you remember that? Is music a part of your family? Where did this
I
love come from?
I think I remember her. She used to love Tina Marie. Like I remember Portuguese love. Like while I'm in the tub, is black folks be cleaning the house.
Hmm.
When they cleaning music. So I remember her singing, and I think I was I glamorize uh her memory a lot. And I think when I was younger, I was like, I always thought she could sing because I love to sing, and nobody in my immediate family sings. But she couldn't sing. She couldn't sing. She sang all the time, but I don't think she was a singer.
Uh-huh.
And I think what's interesting is I have like different, not in my immediate family, but like some of my great grandparents or distant uncles were singers or had records out. But I had no direct influence musically in my home. But I just was never discouraged, or I was never I was never told to turn the music down.
Hmm.
So it was like, this is what keeps him entertained. Is that this is what he loves? My grandmother, she always like pushed me forward. You know what I'm saying? So I guess it's a yes and a no answer. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So yeah.
So you really become serious about music at 12 or 13 years old. And I know music is therapeutic to the soul. Do you think, because now as an adult, you're really dealing with the grief of the loss of your mother. Do you think that the music helped you directly or indirectly, consciously, subconsciously deal with the grief of a lost mother? Because you were raised by a village, as you said, you had family members that were pitching and helping out, but your father's not there, your mother's not there. And I'm sure where now you're realizing that you were dealing with stuff that you just didn't know how to express it. Was music a way to cope with the world that was on your shoulders?
For sure, for sure. Music was definitely and has been a way to cope. I think she was murdered when she was 23. And so if anybody has ever had a parent die, a lot of times I found that whatever age that parent was, sometimes when you get to that age, you think you're going to die at that time too.
Mm.
And I know a lot of people that have expressed and felt that way. So I remember approaching 23 and feeling like, wow, I wonder if I'll live, past this age. And so once I did, it 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 another different type of grief came because it was like, wow, I'm living longer than she did.
Mm.
And then, in fact, when her 23rd anniversary was approaching, I grieved the fact that she would be gone for as long as she was alive.
Yeah.
And so, with that, I was inspired to create an album, uh, basically of like 23 songs, where I was basically telling her story, and I was experimenting, and I was trying new things. And so, I produced the album of about 23 songs. Um, about my relationships, about just the effects of growing up without my mom. And I think I didn't realize until after I released the album of how my grief evolved. And I say evolved because, you have I don't know if you ever lost anybody close to you, but holidays, anniversaries,
Mhm.
birthdays, any milestones can almost have a dark overtone to it because it's like bittersweet. You're happy that you're in a holiday season, but you really experiencing depression because you missed this loved one.
Yeah.
And so I noticed, not immediately, but I noticed that once I released my album, it wasn't until maybe months later that I started experiencing my grief wasn't as traumatic as normal. It wasn't as it had took a page, it took a turn. And I think for me, music has been my form of therapy in terms of just not only being creative and busy, but telling her story because her story was so tragic. And I think when I finally got to have adult conversations with my family members and adult conversations with her friends and people that was with her that night and people that were close to her at the time, it kind of helped me process things. And by putting it in her music, I think it was therapeutic for me. So to answer your question, music has definitely been a big part of my healing and a part of me just coping. Before, when I was younger, I think the music is what kept me busy, but
Mhm.
I think now is really what is a part of my sanity in a lot of ways. You know.
I want to touch on your album, but I also want to rewind a little bit because you just said something that family members were with your mom that night. What happened that night? You know, where were you? How did you find out? How did your family members take it? What was it like losing your mom and then also your father not being there?
I think for me, in a short, I guess, quick way to say is she was in a domestic violence situation.
Mhm.
And if anybody knows anything about my mom's case was not isolated in any way. She was experiencing all of the things that women often experience in domestic violence, stalking, physical abuse, mental abuse. And for a lot of people in domestic violence situations, it's a cycle of business as usual.
Mm.
And for most women, when they go to authorities or when they speak about their abuse, a lot of time the abuse heightens. And in my mom's case, that's exactly what happened. She Thanksgiving week, she put in a restraining order, and this dude, her ex-boyfriend was uh already on probation for a drug charge. And so he had been threatening and stalking her. And so basically he was found out in front of our apartment with a gun, and they arrested this man because he was stalking her.
Mhm.
He was on probation. He was arrested. At this time, they had not served him with the papers for the restraining order, and this is still something too that we don't know why. But he was arrested, and this was the day after Thanksgiving, 1995, on a Friday, and the judge arraigned him and let him out within maybe 3 or 4 hours from him being arrested. And he killed my mom that night. And so what I realize now is that my mom actually went to her. She went to him. He did stalk her and follow her because she went out at night with her friends. He came to the club, and they fled, and they got away from him or whatever. But he called her, and she still eventually ended up coming to him. And for many years, I was angry about that. I didn't understand it. I thought maybe he threatened to do something to the family. Like, nobody knows what he said to her. But when she went to him, ultimately, that's when she was stabbed to death. And basis of it is that's what happened. And so for years, my family has been angry, and creating this project, I was able to have conversations to really confront people. Why did y'all let her go? Why did I had a conversation with the justice recently, which was very powerful for me. You know, so having those conversations is what really uh, assisted in my healing. So I just really want people to know how common it is of what the common behaviors are of domestic abuse. And women do go back because Stockholm syndrome is a real thing.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Okay, so let's get to the album because you just mentioned that it was therapeutic in the standpoint where you are talking to family members and even the justice to get some clarity of what happened. What was that process like in the addressing it with friends and family and the justice, and then creating the music behind that? Because that seems like that's a really, really emotional process.
Yeah, the song was probably the first part of the process. It was a song. The song is titled 23, saying his last words. Her cause of death was exsanguination, which is basically the loss of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And so in the song, I am imagining what her last words could have been, what her last thoughts maybe were. And I ended up having conversations with one of her friends who was with her, or two of her friends who was with her when they went out that night, and what their accounts were, what they knew and didn't know about the situation, which they a lot of barely nobody knew that my mom was being abused. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she was isolated in a lot of ways. And so just her vibrant personality, you kind of just went with whatever she said and you went with the flow and nobody really questioned it. But I had a conversation with her friends. I had a conversation with she would act there was actually a victim, I mean a witness who actually witnessed her being murdered.
Mm.
I had a conversation with this witness. Uh and so just those kind of conversations can be re-traumatizing
Yeah.
and healing at the same time. And eventually I had a conversation with the justice. He was just about to retire. And this case in my area was a really big case.
Mm-hmm.
And so some other politicians in the area have always been supportive of me and was willing to, help my family and say, if you ever want to have a conversation with this judge, I can arrange it. And I kind of took that opportunity on. And so when I had the conversation, uh, I didn't get much accountability. I got a lot of indirect answers. Um, I got a lot of just it was disappointing, but my main question was why would you let him out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would you let this man out of jail that's on probation? And to cut it short, his response was in a 3-hour conversation. His response was he didn't know that he was on probation. So that was his response. And so trying to get under that, once you grow to a place of maturity, you kind of like, I'm giving this man an opportunity to be accountable, and he chose not to be so.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can't do nothing after that. But I did have the conversation. I was able to sit face to face with this man. And I mean, this was maybe a couple of weeks after he retired. I was able to have this conversation with him at his office. And him, this is another crazy thing. So the judge and my grandmother went to high school together, right?
Okay.
Because we're from a small town.
Right.
It's like a movie, bro. It's like a movie. It's like it's so tragic that it's like you gotta laugh. Like
Mm.
it's so insane because it's an unbelievable story. And so this judge went to high school with my grandparents because it's a small town, and they happened to be good friends, throughout the years. And
Wow.
ever since that happened, my grandma, I call her mom. My mom has just never been able to speak to him again. And so part of him accepting this meeting was because he knew that my mom would be there, and he has been trying to get in touch with her, trying to apologize to her for decades, So only to have this conversation and still not be accountable or not give a genuine apology. And so it is what it is. It was what it was. And I'm just in a space now of healing and keeping my mom's legacy alive and spreading awareness, man, because I realize how common and prevalent it is, especially in our community.
Mhm. So I'm curious. You said that this case was a big case in your area, and you had a lot of politicians who said that they would give you direct access to this judge. What was it now in this moment? Was it the creation of the album, the working on the album, and the conversations that you were having with other people that you decided now is the moment that I can have this conversation with the judge?
Yeah, I think for me, Because of my long-standing relationship with grief, I have always been very cautious or present when it comes to time,
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to appreciating the family members that I do have, when it comes to making sure I take a lot of pictures and videos. And I've been always like really passionate about that. And so for years, I knew I wanted to talk to the judge. I knew I wanted to talk to some of her friends. I knew I wanted to talk to my grandfather. I knew I wanted to speak with the officer, because we a small town. So the officer
Mm-hmm.
who actually was the first on the scene was a friend of the family.
Mm.
You know, he was the last person to see her alive. He's the person who told my family, and uh, I still haven't had that conversation. But for years, I know I've been wanting to have these conversations, and I just wasn't ready. I it's the scariest thing for me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
having a conversation with a judge, which I kind of know all of the circumstances, so I can't imagine what his answer could be.
Right.
So will I be ready when his answer is a crock of bull? You know what I'm
Ooh.
saying? Will I be ready to hear details from the killer's sister who happened to wake up and witness what she witnessed? Will I be ready to have those conversations? You know, and it wasn't until the album was just about done, and I knew that I was getting ready to move forward with the promo for the album, that I said I need to have these conversations, because um, the story of my mom was was put out as a double murder.
Mm-hmm.
Because the murderer, he also died as well, as my mom was protecting herself. But the public at large, I don't think, knew about the domestic violence the way that my family and I knew, because I witnessed it and I was a part of it.
Uh-huh.
So I knew that I had a passion to tell the truth about what happened to my mom, and defend her as a true victim. Um, with that being said, his family was still maybe expressing a different narrative. And so I knew that I needed to have conversations for the sake of being ready for whatever backlash it may get from his family, who doesn't know nothing about the scenario. So I had to be prepared to take on all of that just by telling my mom's story. And I know it's kind of complex. I'm sorry if I'm rambling, but
No, no, because you just said something, and the audience that's watching it on the video saw my face drop. Wait a minute, it's a double murder.
yeah, yeah.
So
So
in her, she would she's being attacked. Your mother's being attacked. She's defending herself, and in that defense, not only does she die, but he also dies.
yes, he died, I think, about 10 days later. She died on the scene. He died about 10 days later. Uh, now the other thing is
From the attack.
from the attack. Yes. He was now I do not know his technical cause of death, but I know he was in a coma for about 10 days after the attack. And for
Wow.
context, my mom was 115 pounds, maybe 5'6". He was about 250 pounds, 6'4". And the witness, she said that she know that they were attacking each other, that they were that she saw them fighting. Like, she heard my mom screaming, and she saw, them attacking each other. But I mean, I already know what it is. I have things that I witnessed. My mom. It's so much to unpack. I'm sorry, but my mom was actually suffering from uh seizures
Mm.
because of the head trauma prior to her murder.
She
She
was
was being
suffering from seizures from the abuse prior to the murder. Okay.
correct, correct. So she had been having seizures, and because nobody knew she was being abused, she was lying to even the doctors. She had went to the doctors with my grandmother, and of course, because I guess because my grandmother was present, the doctor was asking her, like, the only time people get seizures like this is normally from head trauma. And so what they were doing were currently monitoring her and I just found this out. She was wearing like a some kind of thing that would connect to the head or whatever, and she
Mhm.
would wear a hat because they was monitoring her brain activity. But she was not telling people that she was getting knocked out cold, into seizures. She would have seizures. So the fatal night that happened, I'm thankful that she protected herself. I can't
Mhm.
imagine her not being here and him being here. And after 20 years coming home or 10 years, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
You know. So but ultimately the story was it was a double murder, it was tit for tat, which was truly not fair to me, my mom and her family.
Mhm.
And I'm just here to set the record straight and just keep her legacy on
Mhm.
and spread awareness, man. Spread awareness.
So you're definitely doing that, not only with the album, but like I told the audience, is that we're going to take a roller coaster ride. There's going to be some pain. There's going to be some light and hope. And part of the hope is you were on The Voice.
Yeah.
Not only were you on The Voice, but you met my boo, Alicia
That's your
Keys.
boo.
That's my.
That's your
She don't
boo.
know it yet. She don't know
Don't
it. I
know
know
yet.
she. I know
Yeah.
she's still married, but come
Yeah.
on now, like,
Didn't
hey,
figure it out yet.
yeah, I can. Hey, people out there doing polygamy relationships all the time. I'm willing, Alicia. Just let you know, baby. Hey, I'm here. But no, seriously. So you're on The Voice. Tell me about that entire process. How you get on The Voice, what it was like being on The Voice, what it was like being and meeting and working on Alicia Keys' team.
It was a phenomenal experience, man. It was truly um something that I can't even put into words, man. I actually didn't audition like how you usually audition. Uh they have a thing because it's TV called additional casting. And
Mhm.
so what they do is, they need so many country singers, so many this to have a certain demographic. And so
Right.
it's with the irony and the reason I'm telling this part of the story is because I had auditioned for the Voice in America Idol maybe for like 10 years every year, waiting hours in the line
Mhm.
prior to the 1 year that I didn't audition, they actually called me.
Hey.
And so it's just funny how time and opportunities work. But casting director reached out to me. They flew me out. I auditioned maybe 3 rounds of auditions. And I made it to the actual taping and it was a great experience. This was the first year that Kelly Clarkson was a judge, and this happened to be the last year that Alicia Keys judged. And it was just like, of course I'm gonna pick Alicia Keys. Like
Right.
Kelly turned her chair around, and Alicia turned her chair around, but it's like it's Alicia Keys.
Right.
And the first thing I can think of is just strikingly beautiful. I think I can honestly say that you don't whenever you see Alicia Keys on TV, it really does no justice to how beautiful she looks in person. Like
Mm.
you don't see somebody that beautiful but just on the street. Like
Wow.
it's just strikingly beautiful. So that was my first thing. But she was cool. I'm an analytical person.
Mhm.
So when I was on the team, I was looking at how the machine works. I was looking at the audio team and the camera crew and the production and the script writers. And, that's just how I experience life. So I learned a lot about how TV works.
Mhm.
And that was probably the most I took away from this show. I think when I was eliminated, I asked Alicia, like, what was it? Like, what could I have done better? What do you think I need to work on? Because I was looking to grow. I was there to try to like, you Alicia Keys, what's up? Like, what are
Right.
you on? Like, tell me what I need to get better at.
Uh-huh.
And her response was merely, you're already good enough. Her response was, and I'll be honest, I was a little dissatisfied with that when I first
You wanted a little bit more. You're like, okay, all right, but just give me a little bit more detail.
yeah, like give me something to go home with
Right.
to work on, you know. And she was like, honestly, she said, my partner, the person I was battling at the time, she was like, she needs this more than you. She was like, you already got it. She was like, I don't have no pointers for you. She said, you already there. I could just tell that you've done this for years. She was like, and she talked about my business, my singer-songwriter business. She was like, I just can tell that you love to help and serve others. She was like, and so I know that this is just the right decision for me. She said, because you already what it is. It's nothing I can do. It's nothing I can, I don't have no pointers for you. You already polished. You already put together. So it was like, it was a compliment. It was, and I appreciate it now just for her to affirm me and
Mhm.
validate me in that way.
Yeah.
But at the time, I was just kind of like, I need something else. Like, what
Right.
you going? What I need to work on. Like, am
Right.
I 15? Am I this? You know what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
So it was bittersweet for me, if I'll be honest. In
Okay.
hindsight, but, I was glad that I'm glad now, and I agree with her at this point. You know, looking back on it, I agree with her, and I'm just thankful that she was able to see that in me and kind of affirm me with that. So I think that was cool.
That's dope. So you brought up your business, J Telegrams. I want to get
Yeah,
into that, but now we got to go back to that roller coaster. We got to go
go
down
back
that
down.
slope.
Okay.
On the show The Voice, you chose to tell the story of your business as opposed to telling the backstory of everything that you told the audience in the first segment about your mother. Why did you choose to talk about the telegram and not talk about the history of your youth?
I think ultimately I was paranoid. I was paranoid of being exploited. I
Mm.
was paranoid of uh I have a thing about being genuine
Mhm.
and authentic, and it's TV. And
Mhm.
so like the truth of the matter is, like, in order for people to watch, you have to pull people in emotionally for them to root for you or to stay tuned. And I understand that now, but at the time, I was not in this space to what I looked like. What I felt at the time was exploiting
Yeah.
my mother's story
Mhm.
for y'all to pick me to go to the next level. And so, you know, I look at it now as it would have been a great story to tell because I was on a platform that could really help people. Even just being a black man talking about grief in that way
Mhm.
could have helped a lot of people. And so I won't say I regret it, but if I had that opportunity, I may have made a different decision. But I just wasn't ready. I knew that I didn't control the edit. I
Mhm.
didn't control what parts of the story that got aired. I didn't control if it got aired. I didn't have control over anything. And I was just like, if y'all gonna pick me, it's gonna be because I'm a hell of a singer.
Right. You wanted
Y'all
to be
pick
based on
me
your talent and not your
for
story.
sure.
I dig that. So tell the audience about your business.
My business is J Telegrams. It's a luxury singing telegram service. I travel throughout the U.S., primarily the East Coast, and I sing to people, man. I show up when your wife got you sleeping on the couch and you want to get back on the bed. You call me,
Right.
and I show up with some roses. I got a florist, beautiful bouquet of roses,
Mhm.
some bottle of wine, some chocolates, and I'm gonna sing y'all favorite song that makes you think of when y'all first started dating, or y'all wedding song, or the song that y'all was on y'all first date, whatever. And then she calls you, and then y'all have a wonderful night, and you thank me, and then everything is amazing.
Mhm.
So that is the beauty of J Telegrams. It was a business. It was something I did in high school just to get girls because I could sing.
Mhm.
And Mother's Day and Valentine's Day came around, and dudes would give me $20, $30 to go sing to their girl or girls. You know, that was my hustle in high
Right.
school.
Yeah.
I got a little, I was an artist, so I kind of felt like, that's beneath me. I grew out of that. I ain't a little kid no more. And then in my early 20s, I kind of like, I got my business hat on and I was like, this is an amazing thing. Um, Nobody really does it. So I'm gonna put my best foot forward and I've been doing it. I have clients uh and from as south as Atlanta to as up north as Connecticut. And I'm located in the Philly area.
Hmm.
So I travel constantly singing to people and it's really a gift for me because I get to see people's marriage get that fire reignited. I get to be a part of families that haven't spoken to each other in a while,
Hmm.
or certain family members might be bedridden, or in a cancer center where they can't celebrate their birthday, and I get to show up and be a part of like these magical, memorable moments. So it's truly a gift for me as much as it is for other people.
Yeah. That's dope. You get, once again, I told the audience we're going to take them on a ride of pain and then hope. That is
Yeah.
essentially giving people hope. And
Yeah.
it has to bring so much warmth to your heart to know you're genuinely helping people.
Definitely. Sometimes I really do feel like I was given the gift, like I was given a bigger gift. If anybody knows, I'm sure like giving, it really does better for you to get like receiving. Like
Mhm.
it is the best feeling in the world. Nothing traps that. Like just doing something for somebody that maybe they can't do something back, or you would just really love to see that how it helped or benefited them. It's such a blessing, man. So like the fact that people actually pay me to do it, like what? You paying me and you giving me a gift? Like that's how I feel sometimes.
Mhm.
It's really, really a blessing, man, because you get to see the effects of it. It's always nobody is never not shocked. Nobody is never like not blushing or
Mhm.
not like appreciated. It always is a good, it's always a great response.
That's dope. All right. So not only are you a singer, producer, because you produced the album 23, you produced that album. Okay. So not only you're a singer and producer, you also play a multitude of instruments. Which instruments do you play again?
I played piano.
So you play the guitar and the piano.
Yeah, I play guitar and piano. I self-taught as an adult actually. I was never instrumentally inclined as a kid.
Mhm.
But I kind of just got tired of dealing with musicians that are flaky. Like anybody know musicians. Musicians are like can be very flaky.
Well, artists
And
can be flaky.
that's true. That's
Wow.
very true. That's actually very, very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to the musicians and the artists out here, man. I get it. We all trying to make it. But my experience was I can't afford to keep putting shows together with musicians that flake or musicians that I'm in the Philly area, so somebody that played for me today, because the musicians are so good here, they could be on tour with Jay-Z next week. And then my little check is like, yo, I know what you said, but I'm with Lauryn Hill this week. So
I
you got
mean, and realistically, you can't be mad at that. I mean,
right. I
you
can't be mad.
you're
Like,
mad in the fact that they're not honoring their word, but at the same time,
yeah,
it's like,
it just is what it
the
is.
Roots just
Like
asked me to go on tour.
and it happens so often, it happens so often. And I was like, man, I'm gonna give myself a year to learn this guitar. And if I can't figure it out, then I give up. So a year turned into, it's been 10 years now.
Uh-huh.
And then I picked up piano because I was just like, if I could learn guitar, I got into this high of like that self-confidence of like, dang, so if I really just discipline myself, I could do anything. Oh, all right, well, I'm gonna play piano then.
Okay.
It was initially guitar because Prince played guitar. I wanted to fly on stage with with the solos, like nobody's flyer than Prince.
Uh-huh.
So that was my initial inspiration. And then I found out he played piano too. So I was like, Prince and Stevie, let me see if I can, see if I can touch on the keys. And so,
Yeah, I think he
you know,
played it. I think in the movie Purple Rain, he was playing the piano.
Prince is a beast, was a beast on piano. Like,
Me and my sister
him
get
and
into
my
it because that's my sister's favorite artist, and
uh,
I like Prince too. I love Prince, but back in the
they
day,
know.
you had to choose between MJ or Prince, just like Jay
True,
Z and Nas. You sometimes you
true,
just like Kendrick and Drake.
true.
Sometimes you just got to
Mariah Whitney,
choose.
you had
Yeah,
to pick.
yeah, you got to just choose.
Yeah, you did have to pick. And I love it because Mike was the king number one, and but Prince was always a little off the center. Like he was
Yeah,
always like,
yeah,
ah, you
yeah.
know what I mean? So like I love the rebellious, image of Prince. So I'm gonna go with Prince.
So not only did you teach yourself how to play instruments, you definitely picked up something from your run on The Voice because you said you were looking at audio and stuff. Because now you're directing a docuseries based on everything around you and your mother's story. Can you tell me how that process developed and how it's developing? Because you sent me a clip of it and it looks good. I can't wait for the entire thing because I definitely want to watch it. So, can you tell my audience a little bit about how you got there, the details of what it's about, and just what made you do this?
Uh, Thank you, man. Well, initially this documentary was scheduled to come out with the album. When I had those conversations that we talked about in the segment earlier, uh, all of that was was planned to be a part of this documentary because I felt like it was time to tell her story. The documentary was scheduled to come out with the album, and I had those conversations that we talked about in the first segment, and all of that was, supposed to be a part of it. And then, specifically after I spoke with the witness and after I spoke with the judge, it just was so heavy for me, and I needed time to process it. And it's other conversations that I still want to have, and I just wasn't in a space to continue creating the documentary. I just was at the time my grandfather had just passed,
I'm sorry to
and
hear that.
like the album was supposed to come out like within a month span of my grandfather passing. And it was just like a lot. And so I just decided to focus on putting a project out, putting the album out, promoting the album. And at a later date, at another time, I'll be able to tell this story. And so just a few weeks ago, I ran across what is considered like would be like the first act of the documentary. Um, and I was just so inspired. I thought it was so good. I thought I told such a great story. I thought that even in a time like this, that it was just a good story to tell.
Mhm,
And more importantly, from the album being out, my healing had evolved so much
mhm,
that I felt strong enough to tell the story. That I'm in a place now that I could talk about it in interviews like this, or just in a different space. And so a lot of people don't realize that with artists, sometimes we are passionate about projects, and if we don't put them out, we move on to different things. And
mhm,
so I wanted to put this out because I said it's something I started, and even though I didn't completely finish the way that I planned, uh, I want to put out what I have, and so that's why I call it a docu series
mhm,
because that first act is what I decided to divide into two episodes.
mhm,
And I don't get into every single detail that we talked about, but I tell the story, and more importantly, I introduce the world to my mom.
mhm,
I'm singing about her, I talk about her, but I never share footage of her. I never have shown my fans who my mom is, and I
mhm,
think uh, on one end the world will be blessed by being able to see just the magical, special, beautiful woman she was. Um, and then it'll start a conversation that I'm willing to be a catalyst or the face of. And so that's kind of where it was. And me directing it is simply when you can't find people to do things, you get it done yourself, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know, entrepreneur as a businessman, you figure it out.
Yeah.
And as an artist, you just figure it out until it's good enough to your liking to put it out. And so that's what I did, and that's what I'm doing. So here we are.
All right, man. I'd like to hear that. Okay. So aside from the docuseries and the album that you released, what's next? What's the future hold?
Well, the future holds is what the future holds is uh aside from people's lives being changed and new opportunities from this docu-series, I have a bunch of things stocked up already that the summer and the fall is gonna be crazy.
Okay.
What I've been doing is I have my album has 23 songs on the project. And so, you know, we live in a day and age where the consumption is almost immediate. People
Mhm.
always want more. People don't really listen to the whole album, especially not an album with 23 songs. It's a singles industry. And so I decided to create my own version of Tiny Desk, create my own live in studio performances.
Okay.
So for a lot of my songs, I have started doing live versions, acoustic versions, because I play guitar. So you about
Mhm.
to hear this song acoustically. I play piano, so I'm gonna play it acoustically. And I've been building sets. If y'all check out any of my on my YouTube channel, I have a show called My Life, My Looks, My Music, where I talk about my creative process, building my sets. I'm hanging stuff, I'm styling myself, I'm painting and spray painting, and I'm
Okay.
doing all the things, building my sets. You know, I got a song called Wee Man. It's about, you know, a girl cheating on me with her wee man. So
Wait a minute. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I didn't mean to laugh.
you gotta
Um,
check it out. It's
um,
funny, it's
it's,
hilarious.
I mean,
It's
it's
hilarious.
funny, it's painful, but it's funny, and painful at the same time. Yeah.
Yo, and it's
Okay.
real, bro.
Yeah.
It's real. Don't let that girl get the weed herself. You get the weed sometimes. Cause who
Oh,
is she?
or
Yeah.
or she showed you who she was, and you can move on to the
Facts.
next one.
Facts. The song, you gotta check it out, man. So the song starts with me waking her up because I got something I need to say.
Mhm.
And then I'll be like, is you gonna weed man? And that's literally the hook. Are you gonna weed me? So check it out. But I brought that song up to say that I have a live version, a studio version of it, where I built the set and I have like blunts hanging from the ceiling and it's like acoustic and I'm playing the guitar and I got like my shirt is like a weed shirt. It's pretty dope. So
Okay,
like
that's what's up.
I just, you know, I'm directing. I do have a videographer. Shout out to Jew that helps me out. But I direct and edit and color, do all of that. Because I'm an artist, I'm a creative, and I gotta get it out.
Mhm.
And my way through life is just to create. That's my form of worship. That's my form of my livelihood. So I'm gonna always be creating something. I'm gonna always be adding something to my catalog. And when people get it, they get it. If they don't get it, they'll get it soon. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Yeah. That's what I want to hear. All right. So, is there anything that you would like to leave my audience with? Because all the information, ladies and gentlemen, y'all already know. As I said at the top, all of the information is in the bio of the descriptions of the podcast, both the audio and video. If you go on the website, there's a direct link that has a guest profile of all the information. But what would you like to leave the audience with before we get out of here?
I would like to leave the audience with, first of all, man, thank you again, bro. I really appreciate you, man, for just allowing me to have this platform. I can't wait to hear what you're gonna say about Trump picking his vice president, because you know it's a lot of crazy things
That
going on.
that
So
uh
I'm
that
waiting for the next episode.
that episode it literally dropped
We
today.
gotta talk about
Yeah,
that.
it literally
But
dropped today.
yeah.
Yeah.
I need to hear about that. So I'm definitely just thankful to be on a platform where it's like you got your ear to the streets and you know what's going on and you just so intelligent. You and Jay and just accurate about what y'all talking about. So thankful just to be here. But I want to tell people that domestic violence is really, really prevalent among us. And people are not able to leave situations as easily as we think they can. And I think if I could leave anybody with anything is to truly be supportive of somebody. If you have an inkling, if you are intuitive about somebody being abused, don't just tell them you need to leave, but when they ready, just give them a space to be ready. Give them a space to, okay, you're not leaving, but they gonna make this step. Maybe they want to pack their bags slowly, or maybe they want to wait till the kids get out. It could be all different kinds of things. But give people space to be comfortable when it's time to talk about it. And then the other thing is I got a docu-series coming out. It may already be premiered, but premiering July 24th and July 31st, telling the story of my time on The Voice and my experience with losing my mother at such a young age to domestic violence. And I have an album titled 23. It's 23 songs that has a variety of genres from doo-wop, reggae, Afrobeat, R&B, or baby making R&B, like that real baby making R&B. Like I got all that. Like it's really, really, really a treat. I got a little opera on there. I
Okay.
got some doo-wop on there. I have Christian, like CCM, worship. It's really a plethora of genres. And so check me out. I'm on all platforms. And holla at your boy.
I want to thank you once again for coming on the show, telling your story. I know my audience has learned something, and maybe they're gonna be out here making more babies to your music.
I think so. I think they will. I think they will.
But thank you once again for coming on the show.
Thank you, man. I enjoy the show, and tell your sister I said keep it up. And just thank you for having me, bro. I appreciate it.
No problem. I want to thank Jamai once again for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Like I said before, all of his information is in the description section of both the audio and the video platforms. You go on our website, you can see his guest profile that has links to all of his stuff. Go check out his album, y'all, because this sounds fantastic. His docuseries will be releasing on the 24th and the 31st. There'll be a link in the descriptions to click and to watch that as well. I fully support this brother. I wish that you guys would go and support him as well. He's a really good artist. He's really talented, and the boy can sing. And I'm not saying all this just because he might hook me up with Alicia Keys, because I know that's completely unrealistic. I'm saying it because he really is a good artist. And he bared his soul to us, telling us a very heartwarming, heart-wrenching, and hopeful story. So, like I said, go follow him. Go listen to him. Go watch him. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Whew, that was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching into it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock with will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling generous and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time Audi 5000. Peace.